good to have you in the car finally.
Oh, thank
After
you.
I'd stalked you for a while.
I kept meaning to return, but the calls, if it doesn't come through Rebecca, I get confused.
I better get Rebecca's number then. I was looking through your Instagram page, and are you kind of new to Instagram? A little bit?
I've had it for like 2 years, but I don't use it probably as often as I should. So not new, but trying to be better at it. There's just too much stuff. Now there's that Snapchat, Instagram.
I know there's a lot to keep up on, but on your Instagram page, you posted this throwback picture of you and Liz when you were like looking the same, but still much younger.
Yes, I had way less wrinkles, less puffy eyes.
Well, you were just running a restaurant at the time, not 150 shows.
I was very svelte. Life was so good. That was our first review.
It was your first review.
That was the picture from the Plain Dealer. The first time Lola got reviewed. So that was close to 20 years ago.
I remember that time because it was about that time where I was a young producer working in Cleveland television, and I called you to book you on TV for the first time. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that at all.
I do.
It was for the Morning Exchange.
Yep, absolutely. When the Morning Exchange kind of got rebooted a little bit.
Yes.
With Fred and Robin.
Yes. And so you come on for the first time, and I remember when I called you, I was like, he had a really deep voice, and I can't tell if that meant like he was angry and didn't want to do this, or he was very serious. And then you come on, and you just came to life on camera, and the executive producer said, I want this guy on every Monday. Let's see if we can get him to come on every week.
Oh my gosh, that was 20 years ago. Wow. You know what though? I think that was even before that. I think that's when I was at the Caxton Cafe.
No. At this point, Lola in Tremont opened.
Was it open already? Okay.
Yes, because you had received an award as like one of the top chefs
it was
in the
Food
nation.
and Wine Best New Chef. So that was 1998.
Yeah, so around that time. When you first got into your business, was TV even on your radar?
TV didn't exist. I mean, Julia, they had the PBS stuff. So Julia and Jacques and Graham Kerr and, stuff like that. But it was, the Food Network was yet not in existence yet. I went to culinary school in 1988. So, when I went to culinary school, I always tell people, I went to culinary school to learn a trade, and I still really consider myself a tradesman. That's what I am. So, but the trade, there was no quote unquote celebrity attached to the trade of being a chef. And at the time, food just wasn't quite as important to people from a dining out aspect. I think it was at home, but not necessarily to dine out. So the amount of great chefs in the United States, most of them were from France and Germany, and you just had to hope you could get a job with them to learn some tricks.
I remember when I was young, even the Cleveland food scene, my parents would go out every weekend. But in terms of like fine dining or white tablecloth, there were very few options, not even, that would have been just a few decades or less ago.
Yeah,
so it was like Sammy's, right?
Yep,
Sammy's, Giovanni's.
There was Sammy's and Giovanni's, really. And then later on, Baricelli Inn. But yeah, very few fine dining options.
So when people now, like obviously we have so many options in Cleveland, and food is something that everybody talks about. And I'll hear every now and then, local people write articles or do interviews and say, oh, Cleveland becoming this food mecca. But we've come a long way. But what else do you think really needs to happen for the city of Cleveland to compete with some of the other big food cities?
Well, I think for like a mid-major city, like for a city our size, Cleveland has as good as a culinary, scene. Yeah, as good as a culinary scene for as anybody our size. you know, I think what we need a little bit more diversity in the food than we have now, and I think a little more depth, and I think that comes with time. I think what has happened here is we grew so fast. I mean, you know, it's over 20 years, but still very quickly, especially in the past 5 years, with the food scene in Cleveland. So there's a lot of restaurants now that are very similar to each other. You know, the chefs have seen what style has tended to work here, and you know, so there's a lot of restaurants that thematically are maybe the same, or the style of food is maybe the same. But you know, I think for Cleveland to continue to be a great food city and grow as a great food city, you know, we need, hopefully we'll get some like more depth in Korean restaurants and Thai and things like that, so you get a lot of different style cuisines going on in the city. And I think that's what, you know, a city like Chicago or New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco, you know, which are kind of like the big four when it comes to like really, truly unbelievable food cities in America. You know, there's a lot of depth to those cities. When you go out to eat, you could pretty much eat any style of food that you could imagine. So I think that will be the next step here.
You travel so much. How much time do you really get to spend in Cleveland anymore?
Quite a bit, actually. You know, it's the great thing about the Chew is we film 200 shows a year, but we do that in 3 days a week for 33 weeks a year, I think. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we film the Chew. So on those days, the first shows we do those days are those day shows, and then the second shows we do, like on Tuesday is for maybe when we're on break for a holiday, on Wednesdays for Friday, on Thursdays for Monday, which enables me to, you know, at 2:30 or 3 o'clock on Thursday to jump on a plane and come home, and you know, and then I don't have to be back to New York till late Monday night or early Tuesday morning. So one thing that the Chew's been great about is realizing that, like, Mario and I have a lot of restaurants to run, so they allow us to do that, which is nice. You
know, you had said earlier you're a chef by trade, and then your world exploded, and you have so many. How many restaurants now?
We own or operate 20.
Okay, so 20 restaurants, multiple television shows. Do you feel like doing all of those, like becoming an entrepreneur and becoming a television celebrity, television host, does that make your skill even sharper? Like, do you miss being in the kitchen, or what do you do to make sure that you still keep your skills fresh?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm always cooking and in the kitchen, which is nice. You know, the great thing about my jobs is I have a lot of them, you know, like, I mean, we have the restaurants, we have the TV, we have the cookbooks, you know, so, but everything that I do still always evolves around food. I don't think I'm ever going to be like on Modern Family anytime soon, you know, so.
You never know.
You never know. Maybe I could get on Blue Bloods. They always tend to have a food scene at the end. But, you know, so my life evolves around food, which allows me to cook and create and work on things every day. Like, you know, essentially the way that my days work on those 3 days a week when I work in New York is we do the show, but then we get home and Katie, who is my culinary director, and I meet up and we work on recipes either for the shows, for the cookbooks, or for the restaurants. And you know, like if we're working on them for the restaurants, we're working with Derek. If we're working them on for the cookbooks, it's me and Katie. If we're working on them for the show, it's myself, Katie, and whoever the culinary producer is for that show. So everything I do evolves around food. And even when I'm traveling for a show like Burgers, Brew, and Q on Food Network, we're not creating recipes for that, but I'm getting to go around the country and eat food and see different things. So, you know, I think it's made me a much better chef to be able to see so many different things. And the coolest thing I think about my job now is, because of a show like The Chew, you know, my favorite thing about cooking, even when I was, you know, in the restaurants day in, day out, is teaching people how to cook, and why food's important to me, and what I think makes it so special, and why people should gather around the table without their cell phones on and unplug themselves for a little bit. So you know, I've always been able to do that at the restaurants with our young cooks, and continue to do it with the young cooks at the restaurant. But now, because of the Chew, I'm able, you know, to reach 2.5 to 3.5 million people live on a daily basis.
Did you ever think that would happen?
No, my God.
I mean, here we are, we're about to drive through downtown Cleveland, and so you're a kid from St. Ed's.
Yeah.
At some point, you decide you want to be a chef.
Yeah.
I think I remember once you told me when you told your mother that, she started to cry.
No, my mom was happy because no matter what I did, my mom was happy. My father wept.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be a what? A chef? You want to be a cook? Oh, God, no. Got to go to college, be a lawyer. Lawyer?
And now, I mean, you have your name on a street sign in Tremont. You've got multiple restaurants in this city. You're like, I mean, Cleveland's gem. So you are a legit celebrity, like everywhere, and certainly here. Is that crazy to you when you think about where you came from, that now you can't walk into this city without people knowing who you are?
You know what? I don't really think about it that much. I think about it that, like, it's almost like I've been gifted this opportunity, and you know, I'm always proud of my city. So it's not like it's, you know, I think some people go on television, and if you're not an actor, but if you're like a host of a TV show, and they want people to perceive them a certain way, so maybe they act a certain way. I just am. I mean, you've known me for 20 years now. I'm no different on TV than I am in real life. So I just am myself, and
that's why it works.
Yeah, so I talk about Cleveland all the time because I love Cleveland. You know, I talk about Lizzie all the time because I love my wife and my family, and you know, so I'm just being me in a regular conversation. Nothing really changes. I don't have to go and pretend to be something else because, quite frankly, you know, I'm very happy in my own skin and proud of where I came from, and so it makes it fun for me.
And don't you feel that that's why people who really like you, you're yourself, so they would like you, and if they didn't like you, then they just wouldn't like you.
They don't
anyway.
like me. Yeah, I mean,
right?
it's yeah. I like one of the great lessons you learn when all of a sudden you're on television is it's no different than owning a restaurant. Like, you know, in the 20 years that we've owned Lola, there's people that come into Lola and they think it's the greatest dining experience of their life, or, you know, one of our other restaurants. And there's people that come into it and they say, this just isn't for me, you know, and then they're going to judge you. And I mean, now that there's Yelp and everything else, they're going to type in what they want to type in, good or bad or indifferent. And when you're on TV, that happens too, except it's just, instead of 100 people that come in on a night or 200 people, it's 3 million people. And you have to learn how to not really care. You have to be comfortable enough in your own skin to be yourself and not think about, like, oh, I did that and people really loved that.
Yes.
Or, oh, I did that and everybody hates me because of it. You know, you just have to be yourself and not, you know, there's a very famous restaurateur, Drew Nippron, who I met 20 plus years ago in New York, and it was when I first started winning some national awards, and he said, Michael, I'm going to give you the best advice that anybody ever gave me. When you get a good review, you read it and you throw it away. When you get a bad review, you read it and you throw it away. And just be yourself, and don't let other things manipulate what you're trying to accomplish. And I just kind of have always been that way, and I'm able to be that way. And there's going to be people that love me, there's going to be people that hate me, and there's going to be people that don't really care one way or another. And it's life. It's no different than when you're growing up. You know, you have, you know, when you're in grade school or high school or college or whatever, you know, there's people that you get really close to, and they're friends for life, and
yeah.
you know, and so, especially when you're, I feel, a chef, when you come up with a dish, it is truly it comes from inside you, so it's a reflection of you, and it's very personal, you know. So it's hard especially when you're younger and maybe not as comfortable in your own skin, and you're trying to figure your life out, and, you know, someone hates a dish. It's like saying, you know what, Simon, you're bald, your laugh is stupid, and I find you incredibly annoying.
And did someone ever say that to you? Or write that about you?
I'm sure someone did. I just laughed.
I know the laugh is very infectious, and you're known for your laugh. Do you laugh like someone else in your family? Does it come from
No,
somebody?
I don't know. I think somewhere in my family there must be like a baboon or a hyena somewhere in our family tree that just has this very strange laugh. I've laughed this way since I was a kid. I mean, it just it got me in trouble all the time, and everybody really has an opinion on it one way or the other. But I can't really change it. Sorry, just kind of is what it is.
Oh God, I love it, and I feel like everyone I talk to loves it. That's a trademark.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like people always go, why do you I love what I do. I really do. I have never like a young culinary student yesterday, they said, Chef, how now that you're further into this, how much a week do you work? And I said, I don't know. I usually work anywhere between 85 and 100 hours a week. And they're kind of the expression on their face got really sad, kind of. And I said, you know what? I'll tell you what though. I've been in the restaurant business now since I've been 16 years old, for over 30 years, and I've never felt like I've went to work. I never have felt like, oh, I gotta go work today. And fortunately, in my TV world, it's the same way. I never have felt like, oh, I gotta go work today. So, when we do the Chew, the five of us are like, it's like a family, and we argue, we laugh, we cry, all that good stuff, just like what happens with a family. But I never like dread going in. It's always fun to me.
Don't you feel blessed then to have that kind of career that just feels like you're living your passion?
Absolutely.
It's your calling.
For sure. And I mean, that's what I've always told young kids when they want advice, or like whether it's in the culinary world or not. And our own son Kyle, it's like if you do what you love, life is great. Surround yourself with people that you love. Get a job that you love, and you'll never have a bad day. So.
Do you like? Obviously, as a chef, you want to try. I'm in the wrong lane.
She's in the wrong lane.
Do you think if I roll down the window and go, I've got precious cargo?
No, I don't think that. I don't think anybody's
so?
going to think I'm precious cargo. I think you should. Is there anybody behind us? Yeah.
I'll ask these people.
Yeah.
Oh, he's ignoring me.
Yeah, he is. See that?
To get over. No, but this person's not going to let me. Oh, but this person is. See, and I couldn't really even name drop.
The beauty of Cleveland. See, everybody's so nice they let you in. Nobody even gave us the finger.
Not that we know of. Who knows if they mumbled it under their breath. See, we're almost at the location. We're going to get you there safely.
I'm almost there. Stay focused, Andrea.
So, when you dine out, do you feel that like when you're recognized, are you treated a little differently? Do you like that, or not?
You know what, I would, I don't know if I'm sure I'm treated a little differently, but like quite frankly, like I love when I go out to dinner with Liz, and like what happens, and I know this sounds like people at home are going to be like, oh God, he's complaining about getting free food, but like, say you go out to get a bite to eat, and you just really want a bite to eat, and you know that a restaurant is fantastic, so you're going to go there, you're going to get your little bite.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you're a chef is you sit down and you're like, oh man, I ate a lot today, so I'm gonna get a arugula and shaved fennel salad and maybe some soup because I'm stuffed. And then like 8 minutes later, you have like 17 things on your table and 14 desserts, and you have to eat them because that's the right thing to do.
It would be rude if you didn't. And really all you wanted to take in was a like 300 calorie meal, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, 4,000 calories later.
Oh yeah, because let me tell you something. As you get older, man, like I used to be able to eat like a half a steer and lose 4 pounds. It doesn't work that way as you get older.
You look pretty good, actually. Hi, I have Michael Simon with me. He's very important.
Yeah, I'm very, very important.
Your parents just went through it.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye. I could take you with me everywhere.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, so that's like, and I always tell people, like when people are like, "Can we take a picture?" And I will do that anywhere because I'm so appreciative. Like I always say, like people, does it ever get annoying when you're doing something? And so I'm like, people could be throwing things at me. I'm thrilled that I can make someone happy by taking a picture, signing a book, or something like that. The only time I hate doing it is when I'm at dinner with Liz. That's the only time, like, because it's like I feel like that's my time, and not my time, but it's a time that the rarity that I get to kind of chill and relax with my wife is when I like to chill and relax with my wife.
So then do you try to do that at home sometimes so that
absolutely.
you're not bothered? And at the end of the day, so you're cooking on TV all day. When you come home, do you cook another meal? Or is
we
Liz...
cook at home all the time together. We love cooking together. Liz is an awesome cook. I mean, she's a really, really good cook. So we cook at home quite a bit. I would say that we cook and eat at home 4 to 6 days a week.
What's the best meal she makes you?
Liz is a vegetarian, so, but she does cook meat for me because she loves me so much. But she makes as good as a roasted chicken as you could fathom.
What does she put in her roasted chicken?
She shaves lemons it's in one of my books actually. She shaves lemons paper thin, and she takes the shaved lemons and sage leaves and puts it underneath the skin of the chicken.
Okay.
And then she stuffs the cavity with garlic and onion and whatever, and drizzles it with extra virgin olive oil and roasts it at she roasts it really hot, like 475 or 500 degrees for like 45 minutes. And then she just serves it over like a big chopped salad with whatever we have going in the garden or whatever she got at the market that day. So just like a chopped vegetable salad, giant roasted chicken, and she roasts the chicken on bread, so you have these kind of like slightly almost like burnt heels of bread, but they've absorbed all the juices from the chicken.
So like
as
a
it's
French
roasting.
bread? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
that sounds so good.
God, it's so good.
And the citrus and sage.
It makes me just so happy. So happy. The bread with the chicken drippings and the crunchy salad and that perfectly roasted chicken with a lot, she's heavy-handed with the salt, which I like, and man, it's good eating.
I interviewed, no, I didn't actually interview her. I just had a chance to ask her a question once. The Barefoot Contessa, Ina Garten, who
She's
I
a dear
love.
friend of mine. I love her.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
I love her. And her recipes are also fail-proof.
Oh,
They
unbelievable. Sure,
all
the best
work.
cookbooks that there are. Liz is, Ina's cookbooks are the books that Liz cooks out of the most. She loves Ina's books. But she's an unbelievable woman.
Well, you were talking about the roasted chicken, and I said to her, if you were going to cook like a meal that is the way to a man's heart, what would you make of all your recipes? And she said, my roasted chicken.
She makes a good roasted chicken. I've actually had it at her house.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. And when she came over to my house, I actually made her roasted chicken too.
And was she like, this is really good?
She loves it, yeah.
Did they taste exactly the same when you had it
No,
at
they were
your house?
different, but still delicious. We just do them a little bit different, but still fantastic. The greatest thing about going to Ina's for lunch or dinner is when people watch that show, it is just like the show. Like she's exactly, again, it goes back to just being yourself. How she is on that show it's exactly like real life.
I would like to go to her house sometime
pretty
for
good.
dinner. I bet.
It's
I could
pretty
take
good.
tulips.
She's the ultimate entertainer.
Yeah, well, I think you would be too. So that must be fun when you get together and you sit around a table with other people who have the same love and passion
It's
that
so
you have.
great. It's so great. And it's not, it's not because Ina has a television show. I just love being around people that love, food and hospitality. It's just fun to be around people like that.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thanks.
So proud of you.
Always good to
and
see
just
you.
Love that you are exactly the same today as you were from day one when I met you.
Thank you. We try.
All right. Well, I mean, you're a good Italian boy.
Yeah, a good Italian boy. She drives me around in fancy
How
cars.
about that? Do you like it?
Oh my God, we're cruising in a
Yeah.
Maserati. Big pimpin' over here.
Exactly. With red leather inside.
It's very nice.
I know.
Very
It's the
nice.
first time I've actually ever been in a Maserati.
Me too.
So yeah.
I like it.
All right. Well, you have some work to do,
I
some
do.
cooking to do, and some entertaining.
Time to do some cooking demos.
All right. I'm
All
going
right.
to let you go. Bye.
We gotta get my bag. Oh, I gotta get out of the car.
Are you feeling that old? I know you work out.
So long.